This is Kings River Life Magazine, and we have the pleasure of speaking with John Deere, who is a speaker, peacemaker, and author. And I know this is going to be kind of a little bit of a challenge here, but briefly just share with us what it is you do.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm involved in working for peace around the world, teaching nonviolence, and so that means organizing various peace and justice movements, lecturing and working with the churches, traveling to war zones, and I write a lot. I've written 30 books on peace and nonviolence. My new book is called The Nonviolent Life. People can read about me at my website, johndeere.org. But I'm very passionate about peace and nonviolence. There are 30 wars happening today, tens of thousands of nuclear weapons, billions of people in extreme poverty, catastrophic climate change bearing down upon us. This world of violence and war isn't working, so I'm trying to carry on the legacy of Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi, saying that we all have to become nonviolent. And what does that mean, and how do we do that? And that's the question I'm pursuing.
And you've traveled all over the world. Just real quick, and again, I know it's hard to do this quickly, and I know you have a book where you explain your adventures through all of this, but how did you become involved in doing this?
Well, my autobiography is called A Persistent Peace, and I tell a lot of my stories there, and people might be interested in that. I'm 54 now. When I was about 21, I went through a holy pilgrimage to Israel by myself and was going to see where Jesus lived. I'm a Christian, and only the week I left, Israel invaded Lebanon. And so there were no holy pilgrimages going on. And literally I was hitchhiking by myself, oblivious to what was going on. And I write all this in my autobiography, A Persistent Peace. And it was there in the summer of 1982, I was camping out by the Sea of Galilee, visiting the chapel on the North Shore there. You can go and see it, the Chapel of the Beatitudes, reading these political teachings of Jesus. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice. Blessed are the peacemakers. Love your enemies. And just as I was pondering all of that, and gosh, is that what it means to be a Christian? Yes, he wants us to do this. Just then I saw all these jets, Israeli warplanes, swoop down over the Sea of Galilee, breaking the sound barrier, setting off sonic booms, and just flying into Lebanon, dropping bombs and killing people. And it changed my life, because I was just grappling with the key questions of life. Not just for a Christian, but for everybody. The universal love, being a peacemaker. And I saw the reality of the world, which is war and killing and violence at unimaginable levels. And so I decided then and there, at the Sea of Galilee, to give my life to the work of peace and nonviolence. And I'm still trying to figure it out. That's why I keep writing as well as practicing it. But I urge everybody to get with the peace movement and pursue the life of nonviolence.
And tell us just a little bit more about the new book.
My new book is called The Nonviolent Life, and as I said, I'm trying to figure it out. Gandhi and Martin Luther King said, nonviolence is our only hope. The night before he was killed, Martin Luther King said, the choice is not violence or nonviolence, but nonviolence or non-existence. And I think that's what we're seeing. Unless we all become nonviolent, we're doomed. But how do we do that? So in my new book, The Nonviolent Life, I propose that nonviolence requires 3 simultaneous actions. First, we have to be nonviolent to ourselves. And that's very hard. It's the easiest thing in the world and the hardest thing. Really not beat ourselves up and not go around so miserable, and really to make peace with ourselves and let go of our wounds and resentments, forgive everybody, and, if you will, cultivate interior nonviolence. And that can only happen through meditation and solitude and really figuring out how we're going to live a life of peace. Secondly, at the same time, to practice meticulous interpersonal nonviolence, I call it, to be really nonviolent to all the people on the planet and to all creatures and all creation at the same time. So that means working with people who are difficult or people who threaten us even. And how do we non-cooperate with the cycles of violence? How can we make peace with everyone in all creation? At the same time, third, I say, everyone's got to be part of the global grassroots movements of nonviolence. The world is moving. There's a lot of terrible things, but there's a lot of good happening. Millions billions of people are engaged in grassroots movements for justice and peace. You can't just sit home anymore in the face of this world of total violence. You have to be part of the struggle. And I always just say, pick one cause and get involved. Nobody can do everything. Everybody can do something. The group that I'm working with now is organizing a program called Campaign Nonviolence. We're trying to have everybody get involved in the nonviolent life and taking to the streets in the fall of 2014. You can look that up at campaignonviolence.org. But this book, The Nonviolent Life, says it's a holistic life. It's a whole way of life toward ourselves, the way we relate to others and creation, and being part of the movements, bottom-up movements to change the world, to help end war and poverty and environmental destruction and make the world more nonviolent. That's a good thing to do with their lives.
Definitely. And where can people find your book?
Well, my book is on Amazon.com for one thing, so it's very easy to get it. I think all my books are there. And there's a website about me, johndeere.org, and it was published by our peace group, which is www.paceebene.org. That's an Italian phrase that St. Francis used to say, meaning peace and goodness. He used to go around Assisi and go Pace Bene. That's PACEEBENE.org. And I hope people will get the book, and I hope they'll like it and join the campaign for nonviolence.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.